afternoon. This Thursday edition of Sports Talk. I'm Mike Spires, and joining me as always, Caleb Harrell, Jacob Harrell. Hopefully, we'll have Mr. Tim Deep joining us in a little while, but if not, you'll have us three today, and an exciting time for sports around the country, guys. A lot going on, and we're looking forward to doing this today. A lot we're going to talk about. We're going to start off talking about Telfair County's baseball season and the great season they had. Then we're going to jump into, of course, what's about to take place in Omaha, the College World Series, sporting my College World Series attire today. So a lot to talk about here. And, of course, this podcast is brought to you courtesy of Merchants and Citizens Bank, Deep and Deeper Cleaning, Deep Productions, and the Telfair County Chamber of Commerce. Deep Productions would like to thank all of these sponsors that make this possible. Guys, been a while since we did a podcast, and a lot has happened since then. But, of course, we were getting ready to go down to Savannah for the state championship game as Telfair took on Gordon Lee. And, unfortunately, Gordon Lee swept us. But, guys, it was a great experience and a great season for the Trojans.
Oh yeah, no doubt, Mike. I mean, the last podcast we did, it really has been a while. Me and you had a great interview with Bryce Young and Ryan Dobson. I wish them the best going on their adventures after high school. But going down to Savannah was a experience of its own. Going down there, we did a good job. We did a good job in game one. I mean, it's that one bad inning really is what we gave up all those runs in. I mean, we put up a good fight, just to describe it in a nutshell, really. But going down there, like I said, was an experience of its own. Best finish in baseball history here in Telfair County. Now it's just like Mr. Deep made a comment in the last podcast. Well, we kicked the door in, but we didn't get the job done. Now it's expected to go back and get the job done next year.
Yeah, the upperclassmen, Caleb, they've kind of set the mark for the guys to come now.
Exactly, Mike. They've definitely set that standard. You know, and I told one of the players that in conversation, I told him, I said, "Look, you have nothing to hang your head about."
Exactly.
I mean, that was Telfair history. You know, what an accomplishment, and you know, to tip our hats to them. They had a truly amazing season.
Yeah, they did, and you know, sometimes you just run into a team that is better than you, and I think that was just clearly the case. But you know, like you say, you look back at the game. We had that one inning where Gordon Lee just exploded and had those 8 runs, and then of course they added a couple in the fifth to win game 1, 10-0. But you know, I mean, for the most part, Trojans went toe to toe. But you know, this was just a team that could really hit the ball in Gordon Lee.
Oh yeah, you're exactly right, Mike. If I had to compare the two games down there, I would have to say that despite the loss, we actually did a better job in game 2 because we come out and we did what we needed to do, and that is striking first. That was one of the few times to where we strike first and lose the game. But like we keep saying, Gordon Lee was just a sound baseball team. They were the better team there. They knew what they were doing, and they had it all together. I mean, we've ran into Gordon Lee a couple of times, not in baseball, but we do have a history with them in softball as well because, I mean, that county, like many other counties that we've played, just breeds natural athletes.
No doubt about it. And, you know, this was their 3rd state championship in baseball, so they have a proud tradition up there.
They do. And, you know, coming in, people may say, you know, oh, Lord, you know, Telfair has no chance. And to be honest, you know, hear word around, you know, just maybe at least one win is it a accomplishment with, you know, the history of Gordon Lee? And true, it is. But I think, you know, coming in, the Trojans were confident. They were ready, you know, state championship. They were ready to play, even though, like, you know, we have already said they were the better team. But I think Telfair played 2 great games, even though they took the loss.
Yeah, and I mean, and you look at game 2, guys. I mean, I know the final score was 7-1, but you go back to that game and we battled them. You know, after going into the 5th, it's a 1-0 ball game. And Ian just pitched an outstanding game. Got a little tired there towards the end, but I mean, there's no doubt the Trojans battled and fought in that game.
Oh yes, and Ian is really the main reason I'd say that game 2 was the better one. Also, take it from the field to the stands as well. It seemed like in game 2, I took a break from the radio and went down and spoke with a couple of fans. I got down from the press box and just kind of took the game in for a couple of innings and then come back up and joined you guys. I mean, the atmosphere seemed a lot more electric in game 2 than it did in game 1. I guess because of the shutout in game 1. I guess that kind of killed the fans off a little bit in game 1, but coming back in game 2, it was do or die then. So, I mean, not just our side, but both sides. I mean, it was an electric atmosphere down there because, I mean, we talk about the fans helping the players, and I do believe that Ian and all of our players, fed off that fan energy until that 5th inning. I do believe that to where Ian started to get a little tired and give up those runs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the nighttime probably a few more fans might not have could have made it for game 1, but got down there for game 2, and I think that probably fit in. And guys, we got to say kudos to the Savannah Bananas whole organization and the people there, their staff. Great group of folks. I mean, what a great atmosphere they created. Some of the in-game promotional things they did.
Oh yes, and honestly, me and you spoke about this on the way down there. But Caleb and I have been to a game down there, but this was when they were called the Savannah Sandgnats, and they were actually a minor league team at that time. They were affiliated with the Mets, but now they are a college summer league team now. But still, I mean, that's basically what you would see in a normal minor league game or summer league too. Those games that were put in, and they just come dragging people out of the stands. I mean, they make the between innings just as fun as they could be. They took the boredom out of it.
No doubt about it, and also the Calvary Day staff, great group of people there too.
Exactly, Mike. Couldn't ask for better hospitality from all the people down there. But there was one select person, kind of had a run in, but we'll leave it there.
We'll leave it at that, and we want to. I don't know if the Calvary Day folks listen to this, but Coach Griffin, appreciate all he did helping with that little situation, and as always, they took care of us and did a great job at historic Grayson Stadium.
Oh yes, and the historic is the main key word in that too. I also want to make a comment about that stadium as well. I mean, if you hear historic, I mean you think you're going into a dump when you hear the word historic. I mean, for a stadium that was built in the 20s and all the history that is in that stadium, that stadium is still in good shape.
Very good shape. I mean, we found out some of the story behind it. The legendary Jackie Robinson, Babe Ruth. Some of the names of people that played in that stadium.
President Roosevelt delivering an address there.
No doubt. And Telfair County fans traveled, had good numbers down there. And, I thought a good interaction between the fan bases. I thought the Gordon Lee fans were very classy. And just overall, you hate the outcome, but what a season for the Trojans. And a lot we get to look forward to next year.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
Exciting times for Telfair sports.
No doubt, and we can kind of recap. Let's see, we had a track championship again for the girls.
And I do believe if you look at the individuals, as a team, the track did capture another state title. I think Nyjah Howard and Brandy Mackey in their selective categories made it a three-peat, I believe, in their individual titles. I think Nyjah made it to where she was a three-time. Was it triple jump, I do believe, champion?
I think she does triple
jump. And Nyjah took the triple jump for the third straight time, and Brandy took the long jump for the third consecutive time. So that was a great way to close out their high school careers. And now, of course, they can't come back to defend it as well, but going out on top is the best way to go.
No doubt. And, of course, we had a the girls' basketball, a second straight year going to the Final Four. Of course, they win the championship the year before, but had that. We had our boys' tennis team finishing second in the state, second year in a row, and a 3-year run with a state championship and 2 runner-up finishes. I mean, just an incredible time for Telfair County sports, and I'm probably leaving some. I mean, softball previous fall. I know we didn't get back to Columbus, but still another trip to the Sweet 16.
You're right.
Football team makes the state playoffs.
That's
So we had an incredible year.
And of course, with the softball team now being in summer practice as well, I mean, closing in and getting close to the beginning of softball season now, we're expecting another big run to the Sweet 16 and hopefully back to Columbus this year as well. Because I know that just by talking to a couple of players, I know Coach Ellis is working hard with those girls. We do have a new coaching addition with the
Okay.
softball team this year. I mean, of course, if many people don't know it, but since Mary Beth Slins had graduated, Coach Michael Slins has stepped away because of both of his girls are now out of high school now, and Coach Patrick Deloach will be helping with the softball
Okay.
team this year as well. And Coach Deloach is a great coach as well. He knows the game. He knows baseball and softball. He's just an all-around sports junkie like I am, really.
So looking forward to that. So the continuing with a great staff there, and so we got a lot to get ready for. Looking forward to that, and of course, stay tuned. Deep Productions will be bringing you those games, and the plan, of course, is always also Star 102.7. So lot going on and getting ready for the fall with softball and football. So it's going to be an exciting time for Telfair Sports.
No doubt.
Well, let's jump into to what our main area of focus is going to be today, and that, of course, is the College World Series. And guys, before we get into the breakdown of these teams, the final 8, quickly let's talk a little bit about the Georgia Bulldogs baseball season. It didn't end the way that
No.
a little disappointing as the Dogs earned one of the top 8 seeds, being the number 8 overall seed. So you were hoping they would get to a super regional and hopefully get to Omaha. Didn't work out that way, but I think given the situation, the struggles the last 4 years, I think Coach Strickland took a major move forward with his program this year.
Yes, I agree 100%, Mike, and also saved his job.
Yeah, no doubt
Saved
about
his
it.
job. But to speak on the team, within a year, what a turnaround! It's like the light came on, and the ball started rolling, and again, all around great team, and one senior, Keegan McGovern, whose hometown's just right down the
Yeah,
road.
Willacoochee, Georgia.
Willacoochee, Georgia,
Yep.
that's right. Has done a great job in the 4-hole, I believe, is where he hits. Great job. That's just one of the bigger names I mentioned. All around, great season for the team.
And,
Yeah.
and also a great congrats that goes to Keegan McGovern as well, who is now a Seattle Mariner.
That's
as
that's
well.
correct.
And
yeah.
also, I mean, just like you said, me and you discussed this on the way to a game, I do believe, and you called it a catch-22 really with this team. And it was really, if you were to look at it, everybody that was making a big impact was from the class of 2016. You look at people like, I think it was Cam Shepard did a great job at the shortstop spot. Guy that we've played many times at the high school level, LJ Talley from Charleston. He did a great job at the second base spot, and he's plays in third base as well. Just an all-around athlete there at Georgia, putting up some big offensive numbers, showing off the glove as well. You also one gritty baseball player as well as the starting third baseman for Georgia, Shunk, I do believe.
Aaron Shunk,
Aaron
yes.
Shunk. Just a gritty baseball player. He's a good job, good hands at the hot corner. Also coming in closing out games for the Bulldogs as well. I mean, the reason I call him gritty is because if anybody watched the regionals, whenever they were playing
Oh,
Troy,
wow.
I do believe, whenever he
Yes.
goes after that foul ball, he leans over the rail and actually bangs and hits his nose on a rail and breaks his nose, and he comes back the following game with a mask over his face. I mean, just you would think somebody would be kind of shy to get back out there at the hot corner with a broken nose as well. But Georgia just had an all-around amazing year. I do believe, like Caleb said, Scott Strickland saved his job, and I do believe coming into next year, you'll get some baseball recruits coming in who have seen this winning from this year. They want to be part of it, and Georgia will probably be back in the regionals as a national seed, and hopefully they can do like they did in 2008 and get back to Omaha.
Yeah. Baseball is such a different game, let's face it. Tournament baseball, especially with the regional format, where you have 4 teams in a regional and it's double elimination, and anything can happen. As we saw in Athens, weather can play a huge impact, and it really changed, I think. One of the things that hurt Georgia had in the past with all the regionals and super regionals they've hosted, always had a huge crowd advantage. But it seemed like because of the weather, This time they didn't get that quite that advantage, having to play day games. Didn't get a game under the lights, and I think that hurt a little bit. But you got to give kudos to Duke too.
Oh yeah, the more they win, the better. It makes Georgia look.
Yeah, and I mean they were a team. I mean, think about this. Campbell has Duke down 7-1 after a lightning delay. Basically, probably if that lightning delay on that Saturday night never happens, Campbell probably wins that game, and the whole regional changes. Georgia probably goes on and wins the regional.
Yeah, they probably go on and win the regional. You're exactly right, and it would have resulted in Georgia and Campbell being in that regional final there, and Georgia probably more than likely would have ended up beating Campbell because they handled Campbell pretty well, and just big kudos goes to Duke as well, going into that super regional and sadly falling to Texas Tech at the Lubbock super regional. I mean, but one big guy I was very impressed with while watching them in the Athens super regional was Griffin Conine.
Yes.
Griffin Conine, just an unbelievable player. I mean, swinging the big stick by all means, but putting up 3 long balls against Georgia, one even landing on top of that huge scoreboard out there. But just by all means, Duke had an unbelievable season just like Georgia, and I do believe both of them will be back in the regionals.
Yeah, I think so. And balls were flying out of the yard in a lot of places, and it was an exciting time. And not to discount as well, Troy. That's a program that's gonna, we talk about Campbell. It could have even ended up with Georgia and Troy. If Duke gets eliminated.
You're exactly right.
A lot could have happened, but hey, it happened the way it did, and some exciting though baseball around the country, guys. Quickly, before we get into the College World Series part, looking at some of the super regional matchups this past weekend, some outstanding baseball.
Oh, yes, and one that really pops out into my head, and I'm sure both of y'all will agree, the one that really had the most action, I mean, if y'all disagree, tell me, I would probably have to say was the Vandy Mississippi State Super Regional. Because two of the nights, I do believe, ending in a walk-off. Vandy, I think their walk-off was in extras, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just an all-around great series there. Jake Mangum leading the Mississippi State Bulldogs to a win and going on to Omaha. And, of course, I mean, you think about the situation with the head coaching there as well. I mean, I do believe that Gary Henderson has earned his spot as the permanent Mississippi State head coach there as well. I mean, I hate to see what happened with Coach Canizero, but Gary Henderson, I mean, literally pushed these guys all the way through as a coach, and he's had success in his own right there. But Mississippi State, I expect them to go very far into the Omaha bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we probably have never had a super regional that goes 2 walk-offs, then an 11-inning game in Game 3.
Best I can remember, no. To kind of echo what Jacob said, it's you think they got it right. They set that matchup with 2 great SEC teams.
Yeah.
Got it right. Even though Vandy lost the series, they're still a good team, and what Mississippi State has had to go through, that's
It's an amazing. It's the story of the year in college baseball.
Exactly, and it's like they put the doubts on their shoulders and said, "Look, we're here to prove you wrong."
And they definitely went out and did it. And another one I'll bring up. I thought the Cal State Fullerton Washington series was quite I mean, kudos to Washington, first time ever on that stage, and to pull off what they did.
Yep. And the girls too in softball, and now
That's
the boys in baseball.
And that's one thing Caleb and I were discussing. I wonder if that's ever happened before. In the same year, you get the softball team to make it to the finals of the WCWS. Then you get the baseball team pulling off the same thing, making it to Omaha as well. I mean, that right there was just a very action-packed super regional as well. Another one that really caught me by surprise that I thought would be taken in 2 games easily was the Auburn-Florida Super Regional. I mean, Auburn coming back in Game 2 and having that walk-off win to force that Game 3, and then Florida coming back and having to go all 9 innings with a hard-fought game going 2-2 into the 9th, and then finally getting that one extra run to win. And, of course, Florida going back to defend their title.
Yeah, Butch Thompson. You can't say enough about the job he's done with Auburn.
Butch, Coach Thompson's done a really good job, and I think that's another program in the SEC that people didn't expect to do nothing this year.
No.
And again, Coach Thompson and his coaching staff, props goes out to them because they. Under their leadership, the team has played very well.
Yeah, had
very
the number 1 overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft, pitcher Casey Mize,
That's
going
right.
to the Detroit Tigers, and a heartbreaking way to end a game, to lose with your right fielder going up for the ball and then
Yeah,
goes
and
off
going
his
off his
off his
glove.
glove into the over the fence for a home run.
And just right before we really jump into the College World Series bracket here, and there was one team I was really pulling for, honestly, because I have not close ties, but I watch a lot of YouTube videos about a group of people that are from this area as well. But Tennessee Tech out of Cookeville, Tennessee
Yes.
as well. Tennessee Tech going and playing a hard, great baseball team in Austin, Texas, with the Texas Longhorns. Tennessee Tech put up a big fight. You had a pitcher from Tennessee Tech saying that they were on such a big roll that they were going to go in there and take it in two. But then they had to go to that third game, and also, you get one big guy from Texas, Roger Clemens' son. Is it Casey? I do believe.
Is it
Cody
Cody
Clemens.
Clemens, yeah.
Just putting on a show. A great infielder as well, hot bat as well. Kind of like his father. He gets a little arrogant sometimes, but honestly, Texas, sorry, they just did a great job. Just by if they keep rolling like they did in that series as well, I expect them to go deep as well. So maybe I'm really going to go in there pulling for Mississippi State throughout this whole bracket, but I'm sure Texas will really put up a fight as well. So this tournament will be one to watch.
Yeah. I'm partial to Mississippi State and Arkansas both, but anyway, so one quick thing to note, and then we'll jump right into these matchups. Of the Super Regional, 6 of the 8 go to 3 games. That's the first time that's ever happened to have that many. And this was a stat that really blew my mind. And this was something that Kendall Rogers and Aaron Fitt were talking about on D1Baseball.com podcast. By the way, that's a great, two great knowledgeable guys about college baseball. Do a great job. So learned a lot listening to that podcast, and a lot of our material courtesy of that, and also courtesy of Eric Olson at the Associated Press, and then also ESPN.com. A lot of material but 3 extra inning games in the final 24 hours of the Super Regionals. Prior to that, in 19 years of the Super Regional play, there were only 3 game 3s that went to extra innings.
Got it
So
right this year.
yes,
Got it
exactly.
right.
You make a great point, Cal. The bracket was set up. We had some tremendous games. And leading up to that is going to make for what I think is going to be an outstanding World Series now.
No doubt. This right here is going to be an action-packed bracket, and I'm expecting to see some hard-fought baseball games.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I tell you what, why don't we jump into the bracket? We'll just go with first leading it off Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. It will be the North Carolina Tar Heels, the number 6 seed, taking on the number 3 Oregon State Beavers, guys. This is going to be a rematch, of course, back in 2005 and 2006. These two teams met in the finals 2 years in a row, and Oregon State got the upper hand both times. So Coach Fox at North Carolina, who's in his, I believe this is his 13th year there, and 20 years at North Carolina, and he has compiled an outstanding record there, 889 wins, and in 35 years overall coaching has 1,425 years. So he's one of those coaches that's kind of like Mike Martin, has had a great career, but he's missing that one thing, a national championship.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And also, I honestly hated to see Florida State get put out as well, but they had a tough regional as well. But yes, Coach Fox is. That's probably the best coach to compare him to. He gets so close to that one big goal, and then somebody finally yanks him back, and because he couldn't really pull it off. But Oregon State as well, talent-rich program. I mean, they're always at the top of the totem pole every year with college baseball. This right here will be a great game.
Yeah, you're kind of getting into this. I mean, North Carolina had a great super regional against Stetson. They won 7-4 and 7-5 those couple of games. And guys, both games, Stetson had the tying runs at the plate with right there, and they get deep fly balls, and North Carolina gets out of it. So that was a great series too. But in some of your research, Jacob, what do you know about this North Carolina team?
Well, basically, what ESPN gave me, excuse me, that was their whole storyline. It reads, quote, this: Not so long ago, the Tar Heels were an Omaha foregone conclusion, making this College World Series field 4 consecutive times and 6 times in 8 years between 2006 and 2013. But after 4 years of no trips to Nebraska, including 2 tourney absences and last year's upset by Davidson, no doubts were beginning to creep into the Boshamer Stadium grandstands about Coach Mike Fox's ability to close the deal, a lot like Mike Martin as well. That got much worse when Fox lost his ace to injury starting 2018 to Gardner Webb at a 9-8 record at the beginning of the year. Well, that nasty chatter is gone now, and now Fox and North Carolina also have a chance to exercise their greatest demons, facing the team that broke their hearts in back-to-back CWS championships, and who's that see below as well, which will go into Oregon State as well.
Yep. And they're led, I guess you'd say, offensively, Michael Bush, their first baseman, a great player, with a .333 batting average, 13 home runs, 63 RBIs. You mentioned a little bit that North Carolina's dealt with a key injury to their best pitcher this year.
And also, I mean, excuse me, and he's expected to actually be in play here as well, because they said that he had returned for the regular season finale. It's Gianluca Delatry, I do believe. He exited, like we said, at the beginning of the year with elbow numbness. Thankfully, that wasn't any type of damage to his elbow, and it was just elbow numbness. So you really need to watch that elbow carefully if you are a pitcher. So I do believe that that Delatry will be a key piece for them in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, limited action, still a 3.08 ERA. Carolina also has got Cooper Criswell, 6-2 on the year, 2.82 ERA. They've got a lot of arms, so I think they're one of those teams. I mean, you also look at them; they're averaging 9.6 runs per game in the NCAA tournament. So I mean, they're a pretty balanced team with offense and pitching.
Right, and also to show great discipline at play.
Definitely.
The game, go back to the series with Stetson. The little bit I saw, saw great discipline from them at the plate, and again, to go back to something from earlier, you would think North Carolina's runaway in the series, and Stetson made them fight hard for it.
No doubt about it.
And make them work hard to get back to Omaha. I believe the first time since 2014, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's either 2013 last year. So yeah, it's been a while for the Tar Heels, who have become kind of one of those teams that just expected to get to Omaha every year. In fact, I believe this is their 11th overall College World Series appearance. Yeah, that's correct.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
To quote Coach Fox, he spoke during the Stetson series, and he was asked, what's going to be different about this series and your possibility of getting to Omaha. He said that they're taking this one as having fun, and I think the pressure of being in a super regional and trying to get to Omaha, there's so much pressure around it for the players and the coaches. A lot of times you forget the fun part of it.
And when you tighten up, that's when you're going to make mistakes.
That's right.
That's when you're going to press at the plate. Mm-hmm. You're going to swing at bad pitches. In the field, you're more apt to throw the ball around, make errors. So yeah, I mean that there is no doubt that's huge. And of course, their opponent, the Oregon State Beavers, considered by many to be one of the toughest teams in the country. They were the number 3 seed for a reason. Pat Casey. Great job he's done. I mean, he's got 1,067 career wins itself. I mean, since the mid 2000s to now, they've probably been the most consistent baseball program in the country.
Exactly. I guess with us being from the East Coast and sitting right in the middle of the Southeastern Conference, you wonder, how do they do it out there?
Exactly.
And it kind of makes you think, do they come east and recruit players? Or to me, it shows there's good players on the West Coast, too.
And you also need to consider as well, too, that California, like football as well, California is talent-rich with baseball as well.
Yes.
Talent-rich in basically multiple sports as well. We talk about a dude to watch for Oregon State as well. We talk about Luke Heimlich, the ace on the mound, a southpaw ace as well. I do believe posting a 15-1 record this year. Of course, he was the cause for national debate last year. He did not make the trip to Omaha, but I mean he ended up going undrafted last year as well. But I mean a lot of people are asking what will be the demeanor of the team, or what will be the reaction as well with him actually being out in Omaha this year. Will he be a mental distraction, or will he be the key piece to winning a national championship with Oregon State?
Yeah, I heard this discussed earlier today, guys, because let's face it, you make the point about they are so far away. They're up in that northwest corner. So they're kind of shielded away during the season from media attention. But let's face it, when you get to Omaha, the biggest stage,
You're in the middle.
I mean, with all the eyes, I mean, how they handle that is going to be interesting. Yeah, Heimlich was 15-1. I guess with his last victory, he in the Super Regional, that improved him to 16-1. But they've got Fimmel, who's 10-1, 2.87 ERA. They've got Mulholland, who's got 15 saves on the year. They got a catcher who's hitting .386 with 7 homers and 70 RBIs. I mean, one thing you keep hearing about this team is that they're just consistently good hitters.
Oh yes, without a doubt. I mean, of course. I mean, you just look at the history. I mean, you got to think Pat Casey, the coach. I mean, he knows his stuff out there. He teaches plate discipline. I mean, he's just when it comes down, it's the fundamentals that when you get that down pat, I mean, that's when you become a really solid baseball team as well.
Yeah, I don't know about their power numbers. I don't think they're regarded as much of a home run team, are they?
I don't believe so. I think they're mainly the station to station type of a team. Singles, doubles, and sometimes triples.
And the thing that's going to help them with that, we all know TD Ameritrade. Now, last year, I believe there were 23 home runs in the World Series, which was up. The previous years, back-to-back, there were only 3 home runs each season. So it's definitely a whole different world ball game-wise.
That's an oddly huge park.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's an oddly huge park. But also, I mean, you think about it this way, too. I mean, if you think about just off topic a little bit, you think about the college home run derby that they have. I mean, the rules are bent a little bit in the college home run derby, but you see it during that event. You see balls flying out left and right, of course, but that is with old bats as well. But, I mean, I'm very excited to see if they beat the new record this year from that 23 home runs. Let's see if they could get it up, because there are some good hitters in this talent pool this year.
Yeah, and the balls play pretty down the lines, left field and right field, as far as pulling the ball. Those home runs are definitely there. That's definitely in play. It's those power alleys and center
also,
field.
And basically, if you see somebody hit a ball out of TD Ameritrade to straight center, they got a hold of it. Yeah.
Exactly right. The wind plays a factor there. It's much different than the old Rosenblatt, where balls just sailed out. But I think Caleb made a good point that this team, being more of doesn't rely on the power as much. Both of these, this is probably a pretty even matchup here.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I made a comment just a couple of minutes ago about Oregon State having talent-rich people as well. We think about one big guy from the recent past as well. You think about Mets outfielder now, Michael Conforto, coming from Oregon State. I do believe he made 2 or 3 trips out there to the College World Series with Oregon State. Consistent success coming from out there. This may be the most evenly matched for the opening round.
Yeah, it'll be a great matchup. All right, looking at this the 8 o'clock game on Saturday night in this bracket, Of course, we got Mississippi State, the great story we talked about with them, they're no strangers to Omaha, making their 10th appearance. But we got a newcomer, the Washington Huskies, who we talked about winning that super regional from Cal State Fullerton. Jay, what have you got on Washington? A little bit of, because this is a team that obviously probably not very many of us know a lot about.
Okay, the thing I'm going to read from ESPN is their road to Omaha and their due to watch that they have listed as well. From their road to Omaha, they've posted a 35-24 record this year. They placed third in the Pac-12. They won the Conway Regional, the Fullerton Super Regional, defeating UConn, Coastal Carolina, and Cal State Fullerton at the last. This is their first CWS appearance. Their due to watch is a guy named Joe Wainhouse. He's a 6'6", 255-pound guy with 19 homers. I mean, he's putting on such a power display during his senior season. That way, the two-way player who barely pitches anyone, not bad for a guy who started the season thinking he would be doing the total opposite as a member of the Huskies starting rotation. I cannot pronounce this word.
Where we at?
Right here.
Prodigiousness.
The prodigiousness. See, I mean.
Yeah, that's a new one
The
on all of us.
prodigiousness,
Yeah.
the prodigiousness of his blast, most of which have come since the start of May, have earned Paul Bunyan-like descriptions from the teammates. It also helps that with his beard and deeply unbuttoned jersey, he actually looks like Paul Bunyan.
In other words, folks, he hits long
long
home runs.
But anyway, I mean, Washington may be the sleeper in the tournament, if you ask me, really. If you think about Joe Wainhouse as well, I mean, that guy could be a big piece. Like we talk about Oregon State's pitcher, he may be the big piece for them. You think about Mississippi State, they've got a couple of people on there that may be their big piece as well. But I think for success to come to Washington, it may be Wainhouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'd be amiss if we didn't talk about their great pitcher too, Joe Demers, who has already thrown a perfect game this year and had a perfect game going against Cal State Fullerton into the sixth.
And that don't happen very often anymore.
Exactly. So I mean, they're a team coming from the Pac-12, like you mentioned earlier. We don't follow a lot, but they were right there. Of course, Stanford had a great season.
They did.
They were kind of one of those teams that maybe underachieved a little. They were the number 2 overall seed and didn't get out of the regional. But those top 3 teams, and I mean, they only finished a couple of games behind Oregon State and Stanford, Washington. So this is a team that's definitely better than a lot of people realize, and it's going to be interesting. And of course, they will be taking on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And guys, can't say enough, as we already said, got to be the story of the year. They'll be making their first trip to Omaha since 2013 when they finished runner-up to the UCLA Bruins. And we watched this team a lot, being Southeastern Conference fans. Guys, just remarkable. I mean, think back to the Tallahassee Regional. They were one strike away from getting sent home. Lost the first game 20-10 to Oklahoma. And Elijah McNamee.
Elijah McNamee, yes, of course. If you look at the recent history of Mississippi State, this is their 11th College World Series berth. It's the first since 2013, like you said, finishing runner-up. And they posted a 37-27 record this year. Like you said, they had to fight their way through their regional and their super regional. ESPN has listed Elijah McNamee as the guy to watch, of course, as well as these. There are guys on this team who are the most consistent, and there are guys on this team who are likely have longer post-Starkville baseball careers. McNamee didn't even crack the starting lineup until mid-April, but no one on this squad will ever top McNamee when it comes to being a Bulldog legend. He's hit 5 homers in the NCAA tourney, including walk-offs that eliminated Florida State and Vanderbilt in one game apiece.
Yeah, I mean, and think about something here. This team might have gotten off to a terrible start, but they are 6-0 against teams that are in the College World Series.
That's very good.
Yeah,
That's very
I mean,
good.
and that tells me they're not going there to just thinking
That sounds promising.
exactly. They're not. I don't think they're the Mississippi State. I think because of what all they've been through, I don't think this team has any fear.
I don't either. To go back to what you were talking about the regional down in Tallahassee. If the weather delay did not, if it wouldn't happen, they may not be in Omaha.
Another good point. Yeah.
They were, I believe, like you said, an hour away, and then the rain comes, and they come back 45 minutes later, and they two batters step up to the plate, and the second one walks it off, and they were behind all game.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about Jake Mangum. He's, of course, the leader. But you got guys in this Rowdy Jordan, who's going to be an up-and-coming player to watch the next few years for them. He had some big hits. You had also Luke Alexander he's become the Ole Miss slayer, I guess you would say, earlier in the year. I mean, he's had some big hits, and I'm forgetting someone here. Hunter Stovall. He kind of set the table for McNamee's big walk-off the other night, getting a hit. So
Sure did.
I think the key thing for Mississippi State to watch is going to be their pitching. That's been the area right now. Connor Pilkington is their stud, but he has struggled.
Oh yes, he has. I mean, of course. I mean, you look in the tournament. It's really big. It's really been Mississippi State's offense who has bailed out the pitching. I mean, of course. I mean, sometimes it's the other way. You think about, for example. I mean, I'm getting off topic a little bit here, but you compare it to the Braves as well. The Braves offense has been notable to not give enough run support to the pitchers, and the pitchers have had to work with what they've got. And now it's really the pitchers have had to battle their way through the inning with Mississippi State, and they got to rely on the offense now.
Yeah, and I mean, they've really got to count on a couple of guys that have stepped up, though. Ethan Small has given them some solid innings, and also J.P. France coming out of that bullpen. Those are guys that have really stepped up, so it's going to be interesting to see. And remember this one more fact, because I know we got to kind of move on to the other matchups as well. But this Mississippi State team swept Arkansas and swept Florida in the regular season. So they've staved off elimination 5 times in the postseason.
A lot of fight, grit, all of it.
And I think that goes back, and this is something, because I follow the Ole Miss Mississippi State rivalry a lot because of with the whole NCAA investigation. I think it's a mindset. Ole Miss is more the kind of the upper crust school in Mississippi where all the lawyers, the doctors go. They kind of look down on Mississippi State, and Mississippi State's more the blue collar. Your average, Mississippian goes there. The working people,
Your average Joe.
Yeah, and I think they take that mindset because look, 3 years in a row in the Super Regionals with 3 different coaches. So there's obviously a winning culture there, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Hey, oh yeah, and with I'll take a somewhat of a different perspective. Now with John Cohen, who is the athletic director, I think when what's their former AD's name? Scott Strickland.
Scott Strickland,
who went to Florida. I think it was a great move to hire John Cohen.
I think it was.
Who was the former baseball coach, but still it takes a special person to step in the role of athletic director because you're dealing with all sports.
Yeah.
And you need good leadership, and Coach Cohen was the right man for the job.
Yeah, and it certainly doesn't hurt your baseball program when your athletic director is a former baseball player. So that's going to be a great one to watch. And then let's get on into Sunday. We'll tackle I guess the one we'll tackle first will be the hold on, I've got to get back to where I'm at here. Let's go with the Arkansas-Texas matchup first. And guys, this is a renewal of an old Southwest Conference back in the old days rivalry between there's not a lot of love lost between the Razorbacks and Longhorns. And this Texas team, of course, legendary coach Augie Garrido, stepped down a couple of years ago and
sadly passed.
passed in, was it March?
I think it was March.
Yeah. And so new coach there, David Pierce. Texas is making their, is it 35th or 36th?
Yes, right here, this little subtitle, and I'll let you get back to this
Okay.
when I read this. They have a CWS record for the most appearances. This is their 36th appearance here. They have the record for wins. They have wins with 85. Runner-up finishes with 6. Last CW appearance was in 2014. Their best finish was, of course, being a national champion 6 times, most recently in 2005.
Yeah, so it's been a while for Texas.
Has been a while, but you know the history that's just around Texas and what that's coming with Texas to Omaha. I think that'll play a huge part for them. Just the history and the name, I guess. It may maybe strike a little fear in Arkansas.
No doubt about it. That could be a factor. We already mentioned Clemens, who is their outstanding hitter, but also they've got their designated hitter, Zach Zubia, 277 average, 11 homers, 44 RBIs. Texas has always kind of been known as small ball.
You're exactly right, and also ESPN has listed Cody Clemens as the guy to watch. Texas really does play small ball, of course. Of course, you're going to see some people in the lineup blast the long ball ever so often. Of course, I mean you're going to have some home runs because what is baseball today without the home run? But honestly, it's like I would prefer a consistent hitter instead of a long ball hitter, wouldn't you, Mike?
Oh, and especially in TD Ameritrade.
Especially in TD Ameritrade because home runs do come at a premium, even though there were 23 last year. I mean, you really got to have somebody with some strength to get it out of there.
And Texas kind of struggled middle of the season with their bullpen, but they've stepped it up. They've got some guys that you've got a right-handed pitcher in Cameron Fields that has a 1.88 ERA. They've got Andy McGuire who has 7 saves. So I mean, they've got some guys down there. But I tell you what, they're going up against an absolute. We talked about Gordon Lee could hit the ball. Well, in college baseball,
Arkansas can hit the ball.
The Arkansas Razorbacks, pig suey. I'm going to tell you what, gentlemen, these guys can flat out crush the ball.
They can. Of course. You got the star shortstop that they have as well. Just all around. That infield is great. Got some good outfielders. Just an all-around, well-rounded baseball team. ESPN has Carson Shaddy as the guy to watch, and out there in Omaha. Of course, this is exactly what it reads. It says a year ago, Shaddy was in shambles after Arkansas had blown a regional at home and he hadn't been drafted. Now the senior infielder is Razorbacks folk hero after almost single-handedly willing his team back to Omaha in 3-game super regional with fellow SEC power South Carolina. He had the 7th inning 3-run double that broke open the first game and a first inning homer that gave Arkansas an early 5-run lead in the decisive game 3.
Yeah, look at what they did to South Carolina that game 3. Just obliterated them.
Yeah, just all around crush. That's all you could really say. That's the best way to put it.
Best way to put it is go back to South Carolina.
Yeah.
Go back to South Carolina. And to kind of somewhat echo off of Jacob's point, I think with Carson Shaddy there, with being a 5th-year senior, veteran leadership, for the team, and when you listen to ESPN and others talk about Arkansas baseball, they're talking about freshmen like in Cody Martin, they're starting third baseman, and Heston Kjerstead, I believe I'm saying the last name correctly, starting left fielder, and when you're talking about freshmen who are making an impact with a team like this, in the years to come, remember Arkansas.
Oh, no doubt. They're not going anywhere. Dave Van Horn came from Nebraska. He's built that program into a powerhouse. They're another one of these teams that I believe this is their 9th appearance. Is that correct?
Let's see.
They've had previously 8.
Yes, ninth College World Series berth.
So they're no stranger to Omaha.
And it's their 5th since 04.
Okay, so they have been a powerhouse for some time. And guys, just just listen to these batting numbers. I mean, they got 5 guys that are hitting over 300. So you got Shaddy hitting 341, 13 homers, 52 RBIs. Casey Martin, that was the third baseman, 344, 13 homers, 46 RBIs. You've got, as you said, Kerstead, 340, 14 homers, 54 RBIs. They've got Bonfield with 8 homers, 39 RBIs. He's hitting 307. Eric Cole hits 329, 14 homers, and 50 RBIs. So they have 4 players that have hit over 13 home runs.
That's
Well, Mike,
amazing.
if you ask me, if the all-time record of home runs isn't broken this year at TD Ameritrade, if you want to think about as a team, you might have Arkansas leading in the team number of home runs at TD Ameritrade.
Very well. Now, the Gators, and we'll talk about them in a moment, they actually hit 96 home runs on the year, and Arkansas hit 94. So the Hogs are right there. But it's not just offense. This pitching staff is scary.
Exactly. Their ace Blaine Knight, I believe that's correct.
Yes.
His name. All around good pitcher.
12-0.
12-0,
The only
yes.
undefeated pitcher in the country.
And back before the draft, I had the opportunity to watch on TV a couple of their games, and behind home plate, I saw no Arkansas fans. I saw MLB scouts sitting there, and all you could see was radar guns. So if that tells you anything, it's the young man is really good.
Really good, and they've also got Casey Murphy. Now he struggled a little bit, but he's got a 3.12 ERA. And the big right-hander, I was impressed with Campbell. Now I know he doesn't have the ERA, and he's 4-6 and 4.19. But in Game 3, that young man impressed me. A tall right-handed pitcher that's just throws hard, got nasty stuff.
Oh yes, without a doubt. I mean, just from watching it at home at the TV, I mean, you could see that natural movement on those pitches as well. Just all around nasty.
And and Matt Cronin is going their closer, 2.98 ERA with 12 saves. He's 2 saves away from setting the single season save record. And they got a passionate fan base as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mike, let's just sit here and point at the camera.
Yeah,
Because I believe ESPN actually timed that man during one of the games. He pointed at the darn home plate umpire for 4 minutes.
Yeah, I believe he's called Mr. Obnoxious. Is that
he's got
correct?
it on the back of his shirt. I was trying to read what that was.
He also pulls out some props during the game, and he had a band of about 3 friends that help him in his cause there. So that's going to be a great matchup. Like I said, that's an old rivalry from the old Southwest Conference days, a little before you guys' time, but that should be a lot of fun there. So quickly, because we're up against the clock, we need to jump into this last matchup, which will be the Texas Tech Raiders, guns up, against the Florida Gators, and I can't believe I just did that.
I can't believe you did that either. Yeah.
But this matchup, this is one of those classic offense against pitching matchups with Texas Tech, being a powerful hitting team as well.
Brady Singer and Jackson Coart, I believe, is other
For the
kids'
Gators,
name.
the pitchers.
They have the opportunity now to go play professionally on the same team.
In the same
So Kansas City Royals, y'all should be very happy. But anyway, coming into the first game, just to kind of go back to their Super Regional real quick, Brady Singer kind of struggled to begin with, but about the third, fourth inning, you could tell, he got settled down and proved to Auburn and others that, hey, I'm still good.
No doubt about it, and that's going to be what's going to be so fun about this is him going against that Texas Tech lineup, a Texas Tech team that is averaging 8.3 runs per game. They are the top slugging team in the 8-team field with a 5.12 slugging, and they're just a solid offense top to bottom. I believe Josh Jung is their leader. He was like maybe the Big 12 Player of the Year. I'll let you give a rundown on them real quick.
Let's see. Their road to Omaha, they posted a 40-17 record, 3rd place in the Big 12. They won the Lubbock Regional and Super Regional, defeating New Mexico State, Louisville, and Duke. This is their third College World Series appearance, all since 2014, and they have a all-time record of 1-4 there. They have their guy to watch, according to ESPN, is Gabe Holt.
Okay.
The super freshman was a one-man wrecking crew in the Super Regionals, banging out 7 hits in 3 games, including a 2-out RBI poke in the 8th that gave the Red Raiders some sorely needed breathing room over Duke.
And we talked about what a good team Duke was. So to come out of that Super, it was no easy task.
Exactly. And to touch on your point, Gabe Holt, young kid from, I believe, Bon Air, Georgia.
Oh, wow. So
Once again, Georgia talent is
Yet again,
Texas
another
doing
guy
their
that
thing.
another guy that slipped through Strickland's fingers.
yeah, and pitching wise, they've got Caleb Killian, 9-2, 3.04 ERA. Their second guy, Davis Martin, they said he struggled some in the regional and super regional. But Tim Tadlock, that's a name that has come up a couple of times in the rumors around the Mississippi State search. I mean, Texas Tech baseball was nothing for years. And now what? Is this their third appearance in 5 years?
I do believe so. It says it took the Red Raiders 7 decades after they restarted their baseball program after World War II to make it to the College World Series. It says in only Tim Tadlock's second season at the helm, now they're making their third trip in 5 years, but still looking to make it past the second round.
So yeah, they've had a hard time when they got there, but now maybe with a little more experience, third time to Omaha, that could be the charm.
That's right. They're, I guess you say, maybe a gritty team who fights hard, all 9 innings. Freshman Holt from Bon Air, who's freshman. I guess you call him a freshman leader. I believe, didn't you say he's leading team in hits?
I do believe so. Yeah.
The Raiders can hit and they can pitch. They're a good team.
And I don't think I think they're well suited for TD Ameritrade. I don't think they're much of a home run. It's more of a singles, doubles type team. Yeah, another guy, Grant Little, 272 average, 12 homers, 73 RBIs. So, I mean, these guys, and we talked about Young, 390, 12 homers, 78 RBIs. So they're two big guns.
Maybe,
pardon the pun.
Possibly maybe an underdog team.
Possibly. I mean, if you look at, it's hard to juggle between Washington or Texas Tech. I mean, who do you consider the sleeper here? Because, there's always a sleeper in a tournament because somebody could just bust up out of their figurative hole and knock you out of this tournament.
No doubt that, and they've got a tough task, and we'll touch on the Florida Gators real quickly in our closing because the defending national champions, Kevin O'Sullivan, done a great job in building a program there.
The SEC Coach of the Year, who was named this year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a program that was on the cusp for many years. Finally broke through last year, winning a national championship. We already talked about Singer and Kowar, and then they got one of probably the best closer in the country, Michael Byrne. When it gets to late in the game, it's tough to have a chance if Florida has the lead with him coming in there.
This is exactly what ESPN has right here about their guy to watch. First sentence reads, "Take your pick."
Exactly.
This is exactly what it says. Take your pick. The Gators have both Jonathan India at third, the SEC Player of the Year and 5th pick of the MLB draft, Brady Singer, the SEC Pitcher of the Year, 18th pick of the draft. Florida has 6 all-SEC selections, and, of course, talking about Kevin O'Sullivan, we don't want to discount any head coach in here as well. Because, the head coach also pushes a team through a tournament as well. But also, just those 3 that we or 4 counting the closer as well, India, Singer, Kowar, and the closer as well. Those 4 could really push them through.
Yeah, and a guy we didn't mention, but who has been money in the postseason is shortstop Deacon Lippett.
Deacon Lippett, the games I've saw them play, he's when you think of shortstop, you think of this kid. He has great range and also has great at bat. Me personally, I put him right next to Jonathan India. Even though Jonathan went 5th in the draft, and you hear him talk more about him. I'd put Deacon Lipton in the same conversation.
Yeah, I mean they're just loaded.
Yeah, they
I
are.
mean, I mean from top to bottom.
And that, I'm sorry to cut you off right there. J.J. Schwartz,
Who's not even playing
not
right
playing.
now.
And you also think about another guy who's not mentioned a lot, but he's another good bat as well. I think it's Nelson Maldonado. I
Yes,
believe.
yes,
Nelson
another,
Maldonado.
and it's going to be interesting. Will Schwartz get to play before the World Series up? No one really knows that right now, so that's a question mark. But that's a great pitching versus hitting matchup. I'm looking forward to that one as well. So a lot to look at with the College World Series. Do we want to make some quick picks on just the first round of games here?
Yeah, we can. Well, why
All right.
not? Let's go.
We'll do that quickly. All right. How about the other side of the bracket, Oregon State, North Carolina? Quickly there.
Oh Lord, that's a hard one to say. I'm gonna go with the Tar Heels.
Okay. I'm gonna lean. I want to say North Carolina, but I just think Oregon State top to bottom is a little bit better. I'm gonna go with the Beavers.
Maybe.
I think I'm gonna pick North Carolina.
Okay. So let me write these down
I was
here.
gonna say just to keep up with it.
Yep. So you go UNC, and I'm going with OSU. All right. On that same side of the bracket, Mississippi State and Washington. I'll go first there. Mississippi State, such a great story. I just think they're on fire. I think they win that opening game there.
Yeah, I gotta say I gotta say the Dogs, or the Mississippi State Dogs.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's true.
I gotta say the Mississippi State Dogs. I mean, boy, do we wish our dogs were there, but still, on the Mississippi State Dogs. I mean, you got to think the pitching is really gonna have to catch up here as soon as they've made it to Omaha. Now that they're here, I mean, you can't just rely on the offense as well. But I do believe the offense will push them through to a certain extent as well. You got Mangum's going to do a good job manning center field. McNamee, I expect him to still be hot with the bat as well.
All right, your thoughts on this one?
Washington's a good team, and I think they're we'll begin to see them year after year. But I agree with y'all. I think Mississippi State just has so much momentum at this time. So I got to go Mississippi State.
They are a team on a mission, no doubt. All right, Arkansas and Texas. I'll let Caleb go first on this one.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to play a favorite here. And, I'm a fan of Arkansas, so go Hogs.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Arkansas as well. That offense, to me, and like I said, I know that they're more of a power team, but power teams can also hit the ball in the gaps.
Yes.
And in a big ballpark like TD Ameritrade, if you can get it in the gaps, I mean, they're a dangerous team.
Oh yes, without a doubt. I mean that power team could adapt and become a double, triple team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of hard. This right here is a hard pick because I mean just by watching watching Texas and Tennessee Tech play, I mean Texas proved to be an awesome baseball team. Of course, I do believe their whole idea this season was playing for Augie, really, and that really pushed them through.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to go with the Hogs because I mean you really can't deny what they're doing.
No doubt about it. All right, and finally, last of the first round matchups, Texas Tech and Florida. I'll go first on this. You know, I'm a diehard Georgia fan, but and Texas Tech's a great story, had a great season, but I just think Florida's just too tough top to bottom. So I'm going to say Gators win that one.
I gotta simply say, I'm not going to say go Gators, but I was gonna say Gators win.
All right, Caleb, your thoughts on this?
Well, since the loser or the winner doesn't have to buy supper,
Yeah. No, TJ pays for supper, period. So just so you know that,
all
TJ.
right. Well, then honestly, Florida probably wins the game, but I'm gonna pick the underdog in this game
Oh, wow.
and say Texas Tech.
Yeah,
That is, if you consider them an underdog, you know what I mean?
that's true. I mean, I think all in all, guys, every one of these games is going to be a great ball
Yeah.
game.
And just by looking at these picks, I mean, I got a feeling that us three are going to be wrong at least in one of these games. I got a feeling
No doubt.
I got a feeling we're going to get proved wrong in at least one of these games.
Yep, so stay tuned. Of course, as we said, coming up this weekend, that'll be Saturday and Sunday, the opening. College World Series will run from the 16th all the way up through at least the 26th, possibly the 27th of June. So 2 weeks of college baseball, looking forward to it. And so that'll we'll get ready to close out. But some items that we want to note, and next time we'll jump into some more things. We'll have some time to jump into the Braves because we hadn't talked about them a lot. And might do a little NBA talk, as John wanted us to jump into that a little bit. And where is LeBron going? So maybe we'll have some more info, and hopefully maybe we can do another one next week, and we'll be in the middle of the College World Series then, and we'll see how these games come out. But something to note, Deep Productions, this summer, looking to launch a great thing. It will be a comprehensive preview of all the major conferences in football. We're talking about the division breakdowns: SEC East, West, ACC Coastal and Atlantic, the Big 12, Pac-12 North, Pac-12 South, Big 10 East, Big 10 West, and I guess with Georgia Southern in the mix and Troy being kind of local teams, I guess we can tackle the Sun Belt as well.
Good.
So looking forward to that. So stay tuned and look for that. Mr. Deep was unable to join us today.
he's
So
here.
Well, thankfully, Mr. Deep's not under contract, so he's not able to hold out on us.
yeah, that's exactly. But unlike some Falcons players, and
right.
we'll talk about that. And of course, Georgia football will be coming too. So we got to talk about that in the coming weeks as well. So want to appreciate John Deep. Thanks to him for being here today, manning the camera and running everything, and taking time out of his schedule on a middle, kind of late week now, as it's Thursday, and starting to storm outside. But I guess without further ado, I'm Mike Spires.
I'm Jacob Harrell.
And I'm Caleb here.
So we'll see you on down the road.